When it comes to Christmas movies, there are a plethora of bad ones to choose from, and with dozens being made each year, there are bound to be a few that miss the mark. And today, I wanted to talk about one that I watched recently. One of my cousins told me about this really stupid Christmas movie they saw on Netflix and recommended I watch it for a video, and after having watched it myself, I understand why. And that movie is A Christmas Wedding Planner. When she first recommended it to me, I asked her, is this at all related to The Wedding Planner? And unfortunately, no, Miss Jennifer Lopez will not be joining us today. In fact, after I started watching this movie, I realized I had seen this movie before, but it was so bad I must have blocked it from my memory. So before we get started, I wanted to say that there may be some background noise. I have 2 stray cats living in the living room. They are actually a few cats that we feed outside, and it's just really cold today. It's like 13 degrees outside, so it's not safe for them to be outside. So we've got them in our living room. If you hear them, I apologize. I also have other people living in this house. If you hear them, again, I apologize. Another thing is my audio may not be the greatest. I'm filming on my phone today and I do not have my mic, so it just is what it is. But it's also Christmas Eve right now, and I wanted to get this out before tomorrow, which may not be possible, but we are crossing our fingers. And the last thing before we get started, I wanted to say that I have 7 pages of notes. I have them here on my laptop, so I thought that to save time, because I don't have a lot of time before Christmas, I could just read from my notes instead of memorizing it and then telling it to you, because that does take a lot of time. So if I look down at my laptop a lot, sorry about that. That's just how it has to be right now. So you could treat this like a podcast and just listen to it, since I am going to be reading from my notes a lot, but I am going to be putting some clips in, so you might want to watch those. I feel like it's so bad that just me explaining it will not do it justice, so I am going to be including some clips here if I can. So with all that being said, without further ado, let's talk about A Christmas Wedding Planner. The movie begins with a ton of narration that is prevalent throughout the film. We learn that our clumsy, awkward main character, Kelsey, has her first job as a wedding planner for her cousin, Emily. We also learn that this is based on a Harlequin novel, which says a lot. Within the first 2 minutes of the film, Kelsey runs into a handsome stranger at a coffee shop, which is surprisingly the second person she's run into in the first 2 minutes of the film. She's just quirky like that. Listen, personally, I am very uncoordinated. I'm very clumsy, so if I think the clumsiness is over-exaggerated, that's saying something. We then get the super awkward and serious and weird interaction between Kelsey and this man.
I need to avoid all distractions. Oh!
Whoa.
Sorry, what?
Are you okay?
Distraction. Yes! Sorry, it was my fault. I should have been paying attention to where I was going.
After you.
Hi there! Welcome to Cherry Beans, where coffee will leave you with a smile. May I get you one of our seasonal coffees?
Up to you. Least I can do.
You sure?
Yep.
Thanks.
Awkward is a word I'm going to be using a lot in this video, but trust me, it's warranted. I feel like this is the only word that could describe this movie. So we learn that the handsome stranger just bought the last blueberry scone. Kelsey is always flustered. She's always late, always a mess. So she's trying to make up for it with her aunt's favorite scone. To me, this doesn't seem like a very professional thing to do since she's trying to start this business, but I digress. Anyways, Kelsey tries to buy the scone off this man, but he refuses. She's running late to Emily's engagement party that she's in charge of, but somehow it's going on without her. I don't know. Despite being really late, she stops in front of the house to send a long text message to a mysterious recipient.
I am well on my way to destroying my business before it even starts. Step 1. Arrive late at an engagement party that I am throwing. Step 2. Do not acquire a blueberry scone for sucking up. Step 3. Fail miserably. Buy cats, spend the rest of my life shopping from television in middle of the night. Ha! Here goes everything. Love you muchly.
The these text messages happen very frequently throughout the film, and she always has to stop what she's doing to send them. It's very awkward. It's very unnatural. The text messages are there basically to provide narration and exposition that could be obtained through just, I don't know, watching the movie. But it's also there to have a big reveal towards the end of who the mysterious recipient is. Because of these text messages, you're going to get really, really tired of hearing the phrase, "love you muchly." 1, because it makes no sense at all, and 2, because we hear it all the freaking time. So she's at this party, and the handsome stranger is there too. What a coincidence. Who is he? Well, he turns out to be Connor, Emily's ex-boyfriend from 10 years ago. Worried he's going to break up the wedding and ruin her first gig, Kelsey approaches him, and he tells her he doesn't like Emily anymore, but the wedding might still be in jeopardy. Kelsey then follows Connor to his car and finds out that he was hired by someone as a private investigator to look into Emily's fiancé, Todd. This scene in particular showcases the absurd musical choices. The music here is so incredibly goofy and on the nose, especially when he asks if he can call her by the nickname Kels. And then when he reveals that he is a private investigator, the music turns into this cliche, sneaky spy music. It is insane. Like, you have to see this for yourself.
Look, here's the deal, Kels. Can I call you Kels?
No, you may not.
All right, the truth is, I'm a private investigator. I was hired to look into Todd. That's why I'm here.
Okay, who hired you?
Sorry, PI client privilege.
You expect me to believe that some mysterious person hired you to ruin this wedding?
Well, technically looking at Todd, but ruining the wedding's a potential outcome if my client's suspicions are correct.
Okay, well then you're out of luck, bucko. Tell me I didn't just say bucko. Because I know Todd and he's a great guy, so.
Well, then you got nothing to worry about, right?
Yeah, I guess I don't.
Also, her inner monologue is very annoying. It really disrupts the flow of the movie. Like, in the same scene, she has a thought which causes an outward reaction on her face. This is something that can be done, but most of the time it looks really dumb. And you know what's weird is that he just disclosed all of this to her. He doesn't know her. You know, she's got stakes in the wedding with her being the wedding planner. How does he know that she's not going to try to ruin the investigation? Why would he tell her all of this? Then he asks her to join him and help him spy on Todd, to which, of course, she turns down. So after this, Kelsey, Emily, and their friends go to try on wedding dresses at a local boutique. And let me just say this, the shopkeeper is probably the best actress in this film. I just liked her performance overall, and she was relatable. She was not as overly exaggerated or awkward as the rest of the cast. Overall, she was just a breath of fresh air. So Emily tells Kelsey that she doesn't want to wear her mother's dress, and they decide that they are just going to have it as a backup, which sounds unimportant, but you just wait. So they find Emily's dream dress, and Todd stops by, and Kelsey sees him being flirty with the shopkeeper and writing something in her planner. Now she's starting to get a little suspicious. In the next scene, Emily and Kelsey are having a private class with the baker, Charles. And I don't know, is that a real name, Charles? Or are they trying to pronounce Charles in like a French accent? I don't know. Anyways, he is super duper goofy and animated like the rest of the cast, but more so somehow. I don't know why he acts the way he does. It's very weird.
Just keep her here long enough so she steps away from her bag. I can do my thing, and then you just send her on her way, okay?
But my cookies, her cookies are ready now. How do I tell her that her cookies aren't ready when they are ready?
But anyways, Kelsey gets him to have the shopkeeper meet them at their private class to get the cookies that Charles baked for her. And then Kelsey is going to go look through her purse for the planner and see what Todd wrote in it while she's not looking. In order to give Charles an excuse to stall, Kelsey cuts the ribbon on the box of cookies.
Don't. No.
So the shopkeeper excuses herself to go make a call, and once Kelsey looks in the planner, she sees that the shopkeeper and Todd have dinner plans. After this discovery, she agrees to meet up with Connor and tells him that she will help him look into Todd, and if they find out anything, she wants to be the one to tell Emily. And it is here that we meet Chef Joey Fatone.
I made it myself, of course it's gotta be good. I mean, hey, Italian. Italiano. Ah, che bella. Yeah, but really seriously, but it means a lot. Thank you so much.
That is not his character's name. I just wasn't bothered to remember his name. I will just keep calling him Joey throughout this review. But he is played by Joey Fatone of NSYNC, which was very interesting. How did they get him to do this movie? I don't know. He has to be expensive, right? Like, he was in one of the most popular boy bands of the 90s and 2000s. Like, how could did they spend their whole budget on getting Joey Fatone? Anyways, Joey agrees to cater the wedding, and Kelsey and Connor plan to meet up at Todd's parents' tree trimming party so Connor can hack their computer and see how their finances are to see if Todd's family is after Emily for the money.
That's perfect, because I could go in there, check out his finances, okay? What a perfect idea you just had.
Okay, sure. I'm just gonna waltz in there with Emily's ex-boyfriend and everything's gonna be fine. No one's gonna be suspicious.
It's perfect. Really is. Brilliant.
At the party, they go to Todd's dad's office to hack into his computer. And by hack, I mean guess his password. That's it. What a terrible private investigator. Like, anyways, they did such a poor job with this. They did not wear any gloves. They didn't lock the door. And they just had to guess the password. There was no strategy or anything going into it at all. So they put in the name of Todd's dad's yacht, and it works. So they copy the contents of the computer onto the flash drive, and then Todd's dad walks in, and they pretend they were looking for a quiet place to, like, be alone or whatever. So they don't get caught despite everything they've done wrong. Like, they were completely reckless with this, but they don't get caught. So Kelsey's aunt learns about all of this, and Kelsey tells her that she's not really dating him. The aunt tells Kelsey that Connor is bad news, and Kelsey excuses herself so she isn't running late to the cake testing.
I have to go. I have to get to Charles Bakery. I don't want to be late for Emily's wedding cake tasting.
Okay, well, don't let me dampen your newfound enthusiasm for punctuality.
Okay.
Okay.
Being late is one of Kelsey's personality traits, which isn't very professional for someone who is going into the business of planning things. At the cake testing, Emily gives her approval of Kelsey and Connor's relationship, and we get more silliness from Charles.
I can't watch. I'll leave you to be. And, please, give up on me. And don't even try the lemon cake, because I used Eureka lemons like a fool. What was I thinking?
And then at home, Kelsey keeps texting this mysterious person, except this time she doesn't read the text out loud. We were just expected to read them. These basically just summarize the previous scene. Feeling guilty after Emily's approval, she meets with Connor and tells him she wants out, and he tells her the results of the thumb drive. The family is still rich. Yay, rich people. Connor is still suspicious, so he asks Kelsey to join him for just 3 more days as they follow him around to see what he's up to. And then he will call off the investigation if they find nothing. We then get a spying montage where they drive around in a big truck and spy on him with binoculars. Very inconspicuous. The two then bond and laugh and dance and have a good time during the montage. I guess 3 days is long enough to fall in love in a Christmas movie. Good for them. After finding nothing, they meet at the restaurant that Todd and the shopkeeper are having dinner at to finish off their investigation, and then they bond some more. This is a good place for me to insert an example of how stupid the whole texting subplot is, because in this scene it is revealed who the mysterious recipient is, and also it is so awkward. Like, their whole dinner pauses so she can text this person and tell them about the investigation and all of that. He also, like, reads her text messages, so she has to tell him who it is and stuff. It's just very awkward.
So, it looks like I'm a pseudo-PI. For what it's worth, I'm good at it. At least that's what my partner keeps telling me. Although, this case seems like it's a bust. Tonight's the last night. I think this will be my first and last job. Signing off, Kelsey Gumshoe. P.S. I gave myself an old school PI name. Love you muchly.
Love you muchly?
You always read people's texts?
Sorry. Bad habit, I guess. Comes with a job. I didn't know you had a boyfriend.
I don't. I was texting my mom.
Oh. I shouldn't pry.
She passed away a few years ago.
I'm sorry.
I'd like to still send her messages. Even pay her phone bill. Jeez, it must sound really strange.
No, hey, we have to keep the people we love close. If that's how she stays with you, then that's how she stays.
They almost kiss, and the shopkeeper arrives, and Kelsey gets super angry. She confronts Todd very loudly in front of the whole restaurant.
I am a fierce warrior. I will tell him what a no-good cheat he is, and might even throw a drink in his face for dramatic effect.
Kelsey, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here? You're engaged to my cousin, and you're out here on a romantic dinner date with this woman? By the way, I'm not throwing you any more business.
Kels, did you put her up to this?
Hey, don't look at him, okay? I saw what you wrote in her book.
You went through my book?
I can't believe you did this to Emily. Okay? I'm telling her everything.
I was buying her dress.
Wow.
Kels, it was supposed to be a surprise. Okay? That's why I stopped by when you were there. Michelle and I have known each other for years, okay? She set me up with a good deal with the dresses, so I thought I'd take her out for dinner to say thank you.
Turns out it's this big misunderstanding, and we learn that the shopkeeper's name is actually Michelle. Actually, Todd is buying the wedding dress as a surprise, and Michelle gave him a good deal, so he's taking her out to dinner to repay her. Also, Michelle is married to Joey Fatone's character, so that's interesting. After this, Kelsey's aunt explains why Connor and Emily broke up. Connor was paid to leave 10 years ago by Emily's dad, her Uncle Albert, twice. So they think Connor is just after their money, basically. Kelsey then confronts Connor about the money and doesn't let him talk at all or explain himself, ever. After this, Connor talks to Joey about Kelsey. He says he's crazy about her in a boring and unconvincing monologue.
I think she's incredible. You know, I can't stop thinking about her. I couldn't even sleep last night because I knew I was going to see her this morning. I feel like I'm a kid at Christmas time.
Then Kelsey has the cliche breakup ice cream scene. So now it's the day of the wedding, and the characters continue to be awkward and make weird noises.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Kelsey!
Hey, everything all right?
Are you kidding? Look at this place. It's like a Christmas dream come true.
Oh.
What'd you do, go through my diary?
No, I definitely didn't do that.
Of course you didn't.
Everything is going smoothly until Joey calls and tells Kelsey to come by because his freezer broke and they won't be able to cater. Once he has her at the restaurant, it turns out this was just a ruse to get her over there so Connor could talk to her and explain things. He tells her that the money Emily's dad gave him was used to save his friend Joey's restaurant. He thought that it was a loan, and then when he went back to their house, the dad tells him to never come back or he will tell Emily that he blackmailed him. She asked Connor about the other money that was sent to him right before her uncle died and cuts him off before he can explain any of it and just storms off.
I really don't have time for this, and I really don't want to have time for this, and I don't want you anymore.
Then a mysterious pregnant woman comes to talk to Connor. Now it's time for the wedding that is interrupted by Connor and the pregnant lady. It turns out the pregnant lady is named Veronica, a former maid of Todd's family, and the baby is Todd's. After this revelation that isn't denied by Todd, Emily runs off and Todd attempts to rap.
Don't let her ruin us.
What?
Hey,
No.
this, Emily.
So the wedding is called off, and outside Kelsey and Emily are talking, and then Connor shows up to tell Kelsey that Uncle Albert was the one that hired him to investigate Todd right before he died, and that's what the last payment was for. And then he tells her that he loves her. And when she delivers her lines, it seemed like there should have been a whole other take. Like, you're telling me this was the best you could do?
Kelsey, I love you.
What are you doing?
I love you.
Okay, so that's what you're doing. You're just gonna walk over up to me and say I love you, and then everything's gonna be all right and fixed and perfect?
No.
Okay, good, because...
Then they kiss, and the aunt and Emily walk out, and all of a sudden the aunt is on good terms with Connor. She didn't hear his explanation for the money or any of that. So in her mind, he can be bribed off, but she's still like, oh, I misjudged you. Why? Because he exposed Todd? Is that it? That wouldn't excuse what he did in her mind, right? Like, he was supposedly extorting the uncle for money before he died. Like, that's a big deal, but she's still like, oh, yeah, I love you now. Whatever. It's so dumb. So they all talk about who's going to tell the guests that the wedding is called off. Like, they wouldn't just assume that it was over after what happened in there, but whatever. And then Connor's like, why don't we just tell them to stick around? He gets on one knee and proposes to Kelsey. With no ring or anything. No planning. No nothing. They just met maybe a week ago. And they weren't even in a relationship. Like, they went from nothing to engaged. And then the aunt gives her ring to Connor to propose with. And the aunt didn't even like Connor a few minutes ago and still has no reason to like him other than the fact that he told on Todd. But she still gives them her blessing. No niece of mine is getting my blessing to marry a guy she just met a few days ago. Like, that's not happening ever. Even Kelsey brings up the fact that they barely know each other. And he's all like, I want to spend the rest of my life changing that. Dude, that sounds exhausting. That sounds horrible. So remember when I said a few minutes ago that they had a backup dress? Well, that's what Kelsey uses because she's getting married now. And then the movie ends with a slow-mo montage of smiles while a ukulele indie girl song plays in the background.
Well, Mom, I did it. I planned a wedding, and then I hijacked it. With blessings, of course. I'm not exactly sure where I'm headed, and that is terrifying. But I know that wherever I go, I'll have all the love I need to guide me. And I know that love is unconditional. Love you muchly. Kelsey.
And then they walk into their honeymoon suite, the end. In conclusion, this movie is the most awkward movie I have ever seen in my life. And it's not just the acting. The writing was all over the place. In the end, it sort of made sense, but at the same time, in no known universe would anything like this ever happen. I can suspend my disbelief for a lot of movies, but when no magic or anything is involved, it's hard for me to imagine this being anything close to a story that could actually happen. Like, wow. There's so much I could say about this piece of work. The background music is obnoxious and too on the nose. The acting is not the greatest, but it can be excused because I'm sure there's not much you can do with a script like this. The characters are one-dimensional, the dialogue is unrealistic, the narration is uncalled for, show don't tell, and the whole thing is just clumsy and uninspired. The positives are the graphic design where the texts are on screen. That looked pretty competent and well executed. It looked good. And the only other positive I could think of to say about this movie is that it was so bad, it somehow turned the corner and became enjoyable in an ironic way. Enjoyable to make fun of, basically. So one thing I do want to talk about is the characters. They are just bad. Let's start with Kelsey. So Kelsey wants to start a wedding planning business, and her first client is her cousin, but she can't even do that right. She was very unprofessional. Was the wedding pretty? Sure. But she was constantly late for everything, even the events she was planning, like the engagement party. She was always in her head about everything, rushing around, frazzled and awkward. Her character was trying to be the quirky, manic pixie dream girl adjacent character. Like, she wasn't full-on manic pixie dream girl, but she had a lot of the same qualities. Overall, she just wasn't taking her job very seriously, and she was hard to watch. Connor is another character I wasn't a fan of. He's just kind of bland to me. Sure, he was conventionally attractive, but that's really all he had going for him. That may be enough for some people, but not for me. I need more well-rounded characters. This movie is aimed at women, and sometimes we just get eye candy in our movies instead of actual characters, which sucks. And that's basically all he was. He didn't really do a whole lot. He co-owned the restaurant with Joey, and he was a private investigator. But it felt to me like a kid playing the part of a private investigator. Much like Kelsey, he wasn't very good at his job. It feels like he just decided one day he was going to be a private investigator instead of doing research or maybe, I don't know, going to detective school. Is there a school where they do detective stuff? I don't know. But it felt like he really didn't put his all into it. Like, he just wasn't very professional. I feel like that's something that Kelsey and him have in common. They're just not very good at their jobs. Honestly, I think he was just there to be someone for Kelsey to fall in love with and to move the plot along. That's basically it. Like, there's not much to him at all. So now let's talk about the ending. Why would they get married? Especially after a week. It's cute when Disney does it. I don't mind it at all when they do it. It's animated, it's make-believe. You know, it's not real. But with live action that's obviously not fantasy, there has to be some sort of realism. But this movie hasn't a single ounce of realism. I can suspend my disbelief for a Disney princess movie because I know that they're doing it for the sake of time and to provide a happy ending because weddings are generally happy. But what's their excuse? You could end it with them, I don't know, kissing under mistletoe or some crap. Like, not married. Girl, who is that person you married? You don't know him. You're gonna wake up every day and find a new thing to dislike about him. Does he eat mayonnaise out of the jar? Because that would be a deal breaker for me. I can't do it. That's disgusting. What if you woke up one day and that was what he was eating for breakfast? Divorce immediately. That's all I'm saying. That is a big red flag. Not only that, but like, does he hate animals? What are his spiritual beliefs? What are his politics? Does he want kids? Is his family intolerable? These are things you need to think about before you commit, not after. And you can't find all of that out in a week, sister. It's just not happening. Absolutely not. In what world do you meet a guy and marry him a week later? It's irresponsible. And the way it happened was very unlikely too. Like, from what I know about weddings, which isn't a lot, but from what I know, you have to apply for the marriage certificate beforehand and then you sign it with the officiant at the wedding. Right? Isn't that how it works? So, like, you don't even have a certificate. They can't actually be married without one, I don't think. And lastly, my cousin mentioned this, that the circumstances of Kelsey and Connor's wedding was very suspicious. Like, why is no one bringing up the fact that they literally stole Emily and Todd's whole wedding? That she was planning. Like, what if she was planning her dream wedding? through Emily. You know what I mean? And they were responsible for exposing Todd and ruining the wedding. And now all of a sudden they're getting married. She said that it should have been a Lifetime movie, and I totally agree. I would have actually watched that and enjoyed it. Lifetime movies are so much fun to make fun of. Hallmark, I feel like they're a lot less dramatic. They're a lot more tame and calming, I guess. And I consider this a Hallmark movie, even though I don't think Hallmark made this movie, but it's very Hallmark adjacent. I think it would have made a better Lifetime movie, honestly. So that's my review of A Christmas Wedding Planner. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and want to see more of my stuff, you could subscribe if you want to. Totally up to you. You don't have to. But that is an option, just so you know. And since it's Christmas, the season of giving, I wanted to shout out a couple of organizations that mean a lot to me. They both involve things I'm passionate about, women's rights and healthcare, and then animals, specifically cats. The first one is the Period Project. This is an organization that helps impoverished people have access to period products. Most of the chapters are here in Georgia, Maryland, Texas, and the Carolinas. Something I talk a lot about is reducing the shame involved with having periods. This is something that half the population goes through, and throughout history is something that has been very shameful. It is especially hard for those who cannot afford proper products to manage it. So I'm glad organizations like these exist. There are plenty of organizations like this, so you can go and find one in your area to donate products to if you can. The next organization I wanted to talk about is Flatbush Cats. This is one that I have been following for many years. I found them through their YouTube channel, where they upload rescue stories and information about what they do. They work to reduce the population of cats in New York, specifically in the Brooklyn area, where they have a major overpopulation problem of stray cats. This is bad for a number of reasons, and mainly because the quality of life for these beautiful creatures living on the streets is really low, especially in the wintertime where temperatures in New York can reach below 0, and anything below 32 degrees can pose a serious threat to cats. Especially with things like hypothermia and frostbite. Not only does the weather pose a threat, but also they are more likely to catch diseases and go hungry while being outside. It's really sad, and Flatbush Cats rescue stray cats if possible, and they trap, neuter, return those who are too feral to rescue. This is an organization I really support, and they really need help. Resources for rescue and trap, neuter returns are very low. They rely a lot on volunteers and donations. So you can donate to them if you'd like to. If you can't, please spay and neuter your cats if at all possible. I realize that some cats have things like heart conditions where they can't really undergo surgery, but for most cats, it is very important for you to get them spayed and neutered. This is a big problem, not only in New York, but everywhere in the US. And if you can't do any of that, or if you don't even have cats, you can always just go watch their YouTube videos. I'm not sure if they make money from the ad revenue on YouTube, but if they do, you could just go watch their videos and support them that way. But anyways, those are my two organizations I think are very important. Maybe it'll inspire you to do some giving this holiday season. Thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you next time. Bye. But it is played by Joey Fatone of Backstreet Boys. Is that right? Hold on. Was he in Backstreet Boys? Or NSYNC? Oh, shoot. He was in NSYNC. Such an idiot. Kelsey's aunt learns of all of this, and she tells her... Oh, gosh. Why am I so terrible a writer today? The aunt then tells her that Connor is trouble. He's bad news. He's a bad boy. You could end it with them, I don't know, kissing under the mental toe. So stupid.